All right, so we're live. Go ahead and tweet this out. But I may look into that service that you use. Like,
dude, they have a free dude. If you want to just try it out, they have a free service. They have a free one. It just has their watermarks. No big deal. Does not change in the quality. Absolutely worth the $25 a month I spend simply because of you're paying for private. You're basically paying for privacy. Their servers are ultra secure. And what's interesting about that is I've gone down, like I lose power or something, God forbid. It happens every now and again. My show still is running, and my co-hosts are so professional. They're so incredible. They just take over the show until I'm able to get back, and it's like I never left.
That's great.
Love the Titanfall 2 shirt, by the way. One of my favorite franchises from last gen. I'm a freak, dude. I got like 19 days in Titanfall. Yeah, dude, it's absurd.
My one of the co-hosts on my other shows, he had 32 days.
I see that it's almost, it breaks my heart that we don't have a third, and I don't know if we're ever going to get one. I mean, trust me, I constantly message Vince, and like, Vince, I know I'm not the only one talking this. As a matter of fact, this weekend, it's funny you wearing the shirt, they had the biggest record amount of players this past weekend. So there's something there, dude.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'm gonna just hit the go button and people can just
let's do this.
They can roll in.
Let's go crazy,
as they say. All right, here we go. We're gonna give this a shot. See if it works. It's the Xbox Now podcast. I'm your host, Josh Schmidt. My co-host today is none other than Mr. Boomstick. What's going on? How are you?
Josh, first of all, thank you so much for the invite, dude. It's awesome to have be working with you again. Last week you were on one of my shows, and that surprise, he's going to be back tomorrow on the Xbox Factor podcast, and it's obviously an honor to be here. Love the work that you do in the community, and I think that today we're going to have a great show.
I completely agree. Let's talk a little bit about the Xbox Factor podcast. What is it? Where did it come from? Give us the details.
It's funny. Here's a great story. People always want to know where the names come from. Like, where do you get Double Barrel Gaming, for instance, which is my channel? Well, that actually was derived from my love of The Evil Dead. This is my boomstick. That's one of Ash Williams' famous lines. So that's where Double Barrel came. I'm not a gun nut. What I'm saying? That's not where it comes. Some people, they usually ask me, "Oh, you have a lot of shotguns?" I don't have any, but it's I'm just from a nerd's point of view, it's because of that. But the Xbox Factor podcast came from my absolute distaste with the gaming media post 2014. They completely turned on Xbox, and some people will say that it was for good reasons, because Xbox had some people in place that made some pretty bad statements, that made some pretty bad moves. And I'm relatively new to the gaming podcasting or content creation community. I've only been doing it for 3.5 years. November 3rd. 2021 will make 4 years on the platform. I've only been doing live content for about 3 years because, like everyone that starts out on YouTube, I did videos. I did videos that were awful. They were just terrible. In fact, the first video I ever did is so bad. It didn't have a thumbnail. Audio was all off. It was terrible. But the Xbox Factor podcast, it has ballooned into something really special, more specifically with the Xbox community, because it's an eccentric channel. And it became so big, and there's been so much Xbox news, that I wound up adding a second show weekly. So there's one on Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and one on Thursday at 12 Eastern Standard Time. But the name, believe it or not, came to me while I was online getting prepared to pay for my groceries at Stop and Shop, because I wanted to do an Xbox show. I just didn't have a name. Like, what am I going to call it? And I kept going through all these names, and just out of nowhere, and believe it or not, all of my names for my shows came from doing minuscule things, doing the laundry, primetime gaming, going out shopping, breakfast with Boom. It's weird how all the names came, but the Xbox Factor podcast is probably my favorite one to do because I have an incredible panel on Thursday's show. I work with two incredible gentlemen on my Tuesday show. And Xbox, listen, I support everything. I have all the consoles. I have not turned on my PlayStation 5 or my Switch in a while because I've been playing a lot of Xbox. That's where I kind of lay my head at night. But if you are someone that wants a show that is positive and fun and has incredible guests as well as a very, very thoughtful and well-spoken panel, check out the show. I think people are going to dig it. And more importantly, it's a show that celebrates Xbox and doesn't use the medium to bash them. I mean, granted, Josh, I think that it's fair to say if they're doing something wrong, it's not our job, but I think it's our responsibility as podcasters to recognize that there's something going on that we don't like or we think that they could do better. And you know what? Because of constant creative ideologies within the medium, we can make these big entities hear us, and Microsoft has been listening. So it's been just a great time to do that show.
They have been listening, well, I think since the launch of the Xbox One, right? Like it's been nothing but listening and trying to get back to the glory days of the Xbox 360.
Yes. Yes.
And it's an entirely different world now. It's not, it used to be that Halo was like a movie premiere.
Yeah.
The name Halo, I mean, it was massive, right? And it's not the case anymore. Gaming is an entirely different thing now. When games like Fortnite and these other games as a service came in, like that's just one factor in really changing the whole landscape of gaming. And Xbox has been like, I've just recently started getting involved with the community, and they've been so great as far as I mean, I was sitting in a Clubhouse chat and then tweeted at Aaron Greenberg afterwards, and he followed me.
Yes, Aaron's a great dude. Like, he's a good dude. Yeah. But what's interesting is you mentioned the community. Listen, every community has, like the world, it has its good guys, it has its bad guys. But I will say this about the Xbox community. It is one of the most accepting communities I've ever had the pleasure of working with. The community is very inclusive, not exclusive, and I say that with not trying to send any shade to the Sony community, because they're good people there too, but Sony is known for its toxicity and being very loud and very vocal and very anti-Xbox, where there are more Xbox gamers in our current community that do support multiple platforms and still find a way to talk good about the other consoles. Now, granted, it's okay to have a preference, sure, but to dump on another platform because of the plastic box, wars that people are fighting, you don't really get a lot of that. And again, I say that to comparing apples to oranges here, but the Xbox community is probably one of my most favorite communities to work with on a weekly basis. They are just fantastic.
And I mean, I could see that, just the kind of the joy and everything that you guys brought to the table when I mean, you yourself are an example of like what is so great about the Xbox community. My longtime friend Lady,
good, that's great community member,
tweeted out or retweeted something. I think it was my first episode. First episode of this podcast, I had 20 viewers in this little baby channel that I just started less than 2 months ago. Right? And then within a week, I was on your show. And it's just been, I've been in gaming communities for a very long time, and they can be very, very cliquish, right?
Yes,
and like you're not going to sit
indeed.
at the cool kids table until you have X amount of followers, and that kind of thing. And it was just so refreshing for me, and so like it inspired me, honestly, and it makes me want to do that same kind of thing, and just get to know people in the community, and help other people push their content. I mean, I love that. I love helping other people, and so it I don't know, it was huge for me to have you reach out, and then just being on your show. We talked about it a little bit ahead of time, but like, you guys know what's up. Like, you sent me notes, and I was like, dude, this is like a book. Like, you're gonna have to find a publisher, I think, because
oh my goodness,
because you got some.
It's funny you say that, Josh, because one of the things that most people walk away from is, they have a good time, and I'm happy. Honestly, it makes me really warm inside to know that someone will come on and be like, something, I had a great time in this show. But most people walk away. Those show notes, though, boom, they were serious. And I do that most of the time. Like, I have learned from Lord Cognito of the Iron Lords. Now, we're brothers, not in real life, but kinetically, we're like brothers. We talk on the phone at least a couple of times a week. We know each other personally. I learned a lot from him. And recently, I've been scaling down the show notes that I send. That's just bullet points now. But the kind of the amount of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 word essays that I was sending people, that still happens. That's still a real thing. Simply because I need to make sure that what I am saying is factual. Again, we talked about this in the green room. The internet is unforgiving if you make mistakes, and I don't care about making mistakes. I've been wrong a ton of times. I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, "Yeah, if I did it, it's my fault. Shame on me." But I like doing the research because, one, I like to read, and two, I like putting out a show that, and again, the channel is growing. It's not just growing in record numbers. Now, depending on who you say, I'm hoping to hit 10,000 by the end of the year, 10,000 subscribers, and I'm close. I'm like 8,300 now, so I'm close. But yeah, dude. I mean, listen, I'm glad you came on. It was my pleasure to have you on. You're coming back on, and maybe if it's if you feel that comfortable, we'll have you as a recurring guest.
Oh, I'd love it. I could add podcast number 9 to my.
Yeah, I know you were saying that before. I'm like, wow, you do a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
But I mean, I love it. It's where I feel at home, right? Like, talking about video games, being on camera, like, it's just it's what I love doing. I do want to point out, if you're watching this and you're seeing my Gears 4 gameplay with the FPS boost, just know I'm playing on the insane difficulty. That's why I keep dying so much. So I just want to throw that out there. I'd never beat Gears 4.
You do have skills, but insane difficulty is in fact insane.
Oh, there's a clip in this B-roll here where I am diving and I get sniped out of the air by the bot and just turn to bits. So. But let's talk a little bit about the FPS boost and what that's done for Game Pass, for Xbox. Like, for me, it's making all, like, don't get me wrong, I actually don't mind Gears at 30 frames a second because it keeps that cinematic feel to that series. Right. But man, it is gorgeous at 60 frames, and I mean, it feels like a modern game. And since I hadn't completed the campaign, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna jump back into this. And I also jumped back into games, like I was checking out Hollow Knight, and
great
just
game.
Checking out some of those games running at 120, and they're smooth as butter. What, have you jumped back into any, and were you kind of shocked at how many games were on that list?
Well, you know what? 2 games that I immediately downloaded and moved them back onto the hard drive was Recore, which runs incredible now. It already looked incredible. Now it runs incredible. And Alien Isolation, which I only played about 3 or 4 hours of.
I thought you were going to say minutes. I only played about 3 or 4 minutes because it's too terrifying.
It is a terrifying game, and you do die a lot for sure. But I only got a couple hours into it before the game is just long. I mean, it's a 20+ hour hide and seek game against aliens. You know what I'm saying? You don't really get a chance to shoot at it or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get back around to it, but the FPS boost, and it's funny we were talking about this today because on Monday's Primetime Gaming, we had Miles Dompierre from Windows Central on. And one of the big topics of the conversation for the evening was game preservation. And it's something that Microsoft is leading the charge in, not Sony. Way behind on that, and certainly not Nintendo, because Nintendo is going to make us buy the next Mario game for the 11th time.
Mm-hmm.
And like I admitted on that show, and I'll admit on yours, I'm a part of the problem because I will go out and buy those Nintendo games over and over and over again. So they got me because I'm a big old nerd when it comes to Nintendo.
I'm right there with you.
But when they dropped, okay, so when the FPS boost first was unveiled, you got a handful of games, right? It's like, here's a few, and then there's a few more. So they're throwing the breadcrumbs down, and we're following them because like this is great. And then we start hearing rumors from the people like Jez Corden, and of course many others. Jeff Grubb talked about it before it became a reality, that this FPS boost drop was coming. So we had an idea that it was coming. So as an Xbox guy, you figure, well, we're going to get at least maybe 7 to 10 games, and we're going to get excited because these are games that are a little long in the tail, and that are in, that maybe people passed on because of the it was 30 frames, or they didn't get to it. It's in their backlog, and then they announced 74 games. I got to be honest with you. It's a bit of a shocker, Josh, that they could. And now the list tops at 97. 97 games. And here's a small tidbit. I know we're not going to go out. I'm not a tech guy, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. So, of course, I was listening this morning as I'm doing some stuff around the house to Game On Daily with Gaz and those incredible podcasters over there. He had King David on. He had Jay Fonzarelli on as well. And what I didn't know is that with this boost, with this drop that happened on Monday, the Xbox Series S, a $300 console, has triple the amount of 120 frame per second games than the PlayStation 5.
Wow.
That is impressive.
I did notice on that list, there are a handful of games that don't do 120 on the Series S if they do on the X. And I even noticed one game in particular, I can't remember what it was 120 on the S, and it said NA on the X, and I was like, what is happening here? Like what is going on with this, And I mean, I don't think every game in that list people are going to go and look at, like Monster Energy Supercross. Like, I don't know that, I have that game on the Switch because I collected every physical game on the Switch from the first year. So I have every physical game. And that happens to be one of the games that's never going to get played. It's not good. It's not good, And so it is kind of funny that, like, I do wonder about the tech. Like, how easy is this and how many more is this going to be the norm? Are we going to see big drops like this on the regular? Is next month going to have another 74 games and I mean, I think it's great. To me, it's breathing fresh air into some of these games. Like you're seeing on the screen right now, Gears 4, like, I had such a great time jumping into this game.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm a huge Gears fan. I was a huge Gears fan on the 360. I kind of fell off with Judgment a little bit. And then
a lot of people did.
And then I when the Switch got announced, I pretty much just put all my effort and time into playing Nintendo games again. And for me, coming back to Xbox now, even though I had the One, there's so much for me to play, you know, and we see the console wars, right? We see, you know, where's the games? It's been 600 days since Xbox has had an exclusive, right? That's the argument I see all the time. And one of the topics I wanted to get into with you is these console wars. What do you think it is with people? Why do you think they get so upset over people enjoying one system over the other? I mean, part of me wonders, is it like a sports team kind of thing? Like it's the city I grew up in, or it's the team my dad likes, so I have to like that? Or I have a hard time understanding why somebody enjoying something is making somebody else angry when, like, at the end of the day, if I see a football game on, I'm just going to watch the game.
Yes.
You know, unless it's the Patriots, I may turn it off, but you know, that's, and I'm just being a goofball. So, but I mean, it, like, you know, I'm all about just celebrating gaming. Like, Sony makes amazing games. I have no problem saying that. They're not necessarily games that I have no nostalgia for Sony. None, because I've been a Nintendo guy my whole life until I got into Xbox. And why was I drawn to Xbox? Because of shooters. And Sony has never really produced any shooter that really interested me. I had a PS3. I love God of War. I love the brutality of that game and that series. And I love how cinematic their games are. But it's always been the shooters that have drawn me. But to get back to that original question, what do you think it is that upsets people so much that somebody likes this console over the other console?
You know, it's probably a question that is definitely going to have a lot of length to discuss. The console wars, it's a real thing, right? People really do love their consoles, and they're willing to, unfortunately, sometimes be a-holes about it. Like I said in the beginning regarding communities, one of the most accepting and rewarding communities is the Xbox. Unfortunately, and I have to say this because I'm so social, I understand what goes on behind the scenes, and because I'm always on Twitter, you get to see the very unbelievable toxic PlayStation fans, and you know what? That's not all of them. I'm not throwing the entire community under umbrella. You can't do that with anything in life. Certainly not communities. But they're the most loud. They are certainly they're one of the first when Xbox put out something that is a 60 meta. Everyone and that's a part of this brand loyalist community has to come out and throw shade on Sony. I mean, on Xbox and all of its players, which I find to be just preposterous. I don't know why this continues. I don't know why, it's such that people have to tell you about their console. They want to make sure, because somehow Sony is giving them extra money that we don't know about. And I mean that being facetious, right? Sure. So, it doesn't really happen. But all I can say is that I have learned that there is a block button and a mute button, and in the last year or so, and I learned that from Wilmy Hood, another fantastic community member, that this thing exists, and when people start to get out of control, they just get blocked or muted. And before I follow people now, I have to go back to Cognito because I've learned a lot from him. I go back and I look at your last 10 to 15 tweets. If I start seeing Pony, if I start seeing the words Xbot, or I start to see any kind of toxicity, I will not follow you back. And for the most part, I may even just mute you. I don't really care. I don't really like to block people, but I will mute you because I don't have time for this. I'm much older than many people in this game. I'm here for fun. And why this continues is I think you might have hit it on the head. I think it's very sports team-esque. Like, I'm a Steeler fan. Like, I've been a Steeler fan since 1976, right? Since I was watching football with my dad. Terry Bradshaw and that team, I don't know if it was the colors of the team or what. I was always drawn to the Steelers. Now, I live in New York. My father still doesn't understand how I'm not a Jet or Giant fan, right? And I think that it's very when you see the back and forth, it is very much like your favorite sports team is winning, so you have to put it out there that they're winning and they're the best, and they have this many rings, and your console does not have any rings at all. You know, you're the Cleveland Browns and we're the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. Again, what I have learned to do in those circumstances, and that's why that's what you don't get on my shows. Like, we'll have an opinion about a console. Like, for instance, what happened yesterday, Josh, with Sony? These legal documents are now floating all over the place, right? We're starting to see the real Sony, right? So much so that Sony had to go and had an injunction to block those public documents. And they had it done because some of those documents were pulled. Now, I don't know if they got to all of them, but we now know that they charge Epic Games a fee for crossplay. Yeah, it's egregious in every way possible. Now, did you see me do a tweet about how Sony should be held to the fire? No, I don't really care, to be honest with you. That's your Sony. If you're going to defend that, good on you. I'm not. So it's sad to see that it continues, because I always thought, Josh, that gaming was supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Right? You're supposed to enjoy, you're supposed to laugh, you're supposed to pal around with people online and enjoy it. And unfortunately, these toxic communities, they do suck the life out of the conversation.
Did you see my tweet regarding Sony?
No, I actually didn't.
So I am a natural born troll, but like a friendly troll, right? Like I've been referred to as the friendliest asshole, right? That's how people like to refer to me, because I know how to push buttons, right? And so what other news did we have this week? Well, we found out that Discord and Sony got together, and I tweeted, I wonder how much Discord had to pay Sony for this deal. And somebody replied back, "Don't you think it would be the other way around?" And I replied, "Ask Epic."
Yeah, that's good. A great point, dude.
And I mean, again, I just like to stir the pot. I own a PS4. I will get a PS5. I want to play The Last of Us. Like, I like gaming. Period. That's it. I like gaming. You know? And even though Epic is paying Sony, I mean, good on Epic for doing that for the community, for the gamers. At the end of the day, and a lot of like people don't like it when I say this. I've had people block me and get upset with me. Gaming is business.
It is. It's at the end of the day, that's a 100% true statement. It is a business. You know what? The difference, and I think this is where we go from comparing apples to oranges. You see, Sony is very cold. They're very straight, right? They do things for business. That's why they make their game $70, right? We just saw their financials. Do you think they're hurting for money? No, they're making record profits. And people defend the $70 game, right? Microsoft, very welcoming. You know, you have Phil Spencer. Aaron Greenberg follows you after a tweet. Larry Herb comes on my show. I got Major Nelson to come on one of my shows. How does that happen? How does that actually happen? Because Microsoft touches the pulse of the community, and it's important to them. It's an important aspect. Jim Ryan doesn't even play games. Right? Phil Spencer, diehard gamer. Right? Everywhere you go, he's got his little tablet, and he's playing playing Destiny 2 because he's a gamer like us. He's a businessman. He makes six figures. He's the head of Xbox. He's on the right hand side of Satya Nadella, but he's still a human being. See, and that's the difference. See, Sony is that very corporation, right? They don't interact with the community. Have you seen Herman Hulst going to anyone's shows to make a comment, to pal around with anybody? No. You don't even see him on Twitter. I don't even know if he plays games. He makes them. He made them anyway. I don't know if he plays games. I know Jim Ryan doesn't. So, one is doing something really good for its millions and millions of fans, and the other one is just being Sony, resting on their laurels. And people defend that. Why? I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's look at their history a little bit. How did they get started in gaming? By Nintendo betraying them on stage at the last minute and showing them how, dog eat dog this industry is. As we learn more about the history of gaming and the CEOs and the deals that are made and what it's so much more than just running through levels to save a princess with Mario, or Chief and Cortana on their grand adventures. It's huge money. It's huge money, and that's gonna take people that maybe aren't gamers, and what Sony is doing is working from a business. From the business perspective, they're how long? I don't know. I feel like gaming always has these tides that are continually shifting. Like Nintendo was in the lead, and then Sega took 50% of the market share, over 50%, and then the Super Nintendo started they got Donkey Kong Country, and Sega thought it was a new system. You know what I mean? It's always had these, and Nintendo's always kind of had to fight their way back. And then, Sony comes out with the PS1, does well. PS2 does crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that PS2 era is what has helped people to want to defend Sony, because there's that nostalgia pull. There's all those good memories of, you got to remember, I mean, there was very little, it was the beginning of online gaming, right? So the PS2 for a lot of people, I would say, has a similar nostalgia pull that the NES would have for me, or the Super Nintendo, and a lot of couch co-op and playing games with friends at their house, right? Because the online stuff was relatively new at that point.
Yeah.
And if you fell in love with Final Fantasy and Crash and Spyro and, the iconic games from that time, I mean, I get it. That's where that's where your loyalty is, because that's where the nostalgia is. Why am I sitting in a room surrounded by Nintendo memorabilia and Nintendo products? Because Nintendo was a huge part of my childhood, and I've just always enjoyed being a Nintendo gamer. At the same time, I've also enjoyed being an Xbox gamer and playing games like you're seeing here, Gears 4 and Halo. And for me, that love of Halo goes all the way back to the LAN parties and being in the room. And we're talking about I'm working on the details right now, getting dates and stuff, but we're gonna do the LAN party. Is gonna be something we're gonna do on the regular within my community, where we all jump into a Discord call, 16 of us, whatever, or maybe I'm used to having to use Discord because of being a Nintendo guy, but we could even just jump in party chat. Just depends if we want to record it or not. And just playing Halo like we did back in the day, where we had to carry CRTs and, do the cables everywhere. Because that's where all my fond memories are. Right. Does that mean but that doesn't mean I'm going to discount somebody else's, just because they, their memories are on another console. It doesn't affect me.
I agree.
I don't care. Yeah. I'm glad you had a good time with gaming. I use these trolls on Twitter for engagement. And the last guy that was coming at me, I was just bro, you're just boosting my engagement. Your opinion is completely irrelevant to me. all you're doing is helping me boost engagement, right? Which then just set them off even more. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I don't care. You're not gonna affect me. I've been in the game too long. I've too thick a skin. You know what I mean? My favorite thing to do on one of my other shows, the Press Pause podcast, is to just, I look for the best comments that I get on TikTok usually. I got one I woke up to one this morning. It was like, why do all the no job dads always play Apex?
Wow. Wow.
And so, I don't care. Like, it's humor to me. It's like, who knows what's wrong with that person or why they're unhappy. I have to fight the urge to reply, like, why is it always no dad kids giving me these mean comments, but like, I have to stop and not be that guy. So, I just don't get it. I don't get it. There's so much to enjoy, right?
Yeah.
There's so much to enjoy.
Gaming is supposed to be fun, like I said earlier. And even community, working with community is supposed to be fun, right? You're not supposed to go out there looking for a fight, and if you are, that in itself is a problem.
Settle it and smash. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, and that's it. It just makes it makes it crazy because like there's so much. We are missing the opportunity to build relationships with people that have a common interest already.
Yes.
Because of a silly brand. And that's just, it's ridiculous. It's like our loyalty to a corporation can't allow us to be friends. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know. And when you can get past it, I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now, right? Do you think we agree on everything with our, worldviews, all that kind of stuff? There's no way, right? But we focus on what we agree on. And look, we get to have great conversation. We'll probably play some games together at some point and, get to talk trash to each other and race in Forza and shoot each other in Gears or Halo and, whatever, even compete for achievements. I mean, there's so many other areas we can put our energy that just, I don't know, make the world a better place. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And what's the end game?
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that the best way that I have learned to do, especially in social media, is to, when you see those types of gamers that just want to be terrible. Same thing with my chat. Like, I have one of the best chats in gaming, and I would dare argue with anyone about that. And I get a lot of people, which is crazy because, again, the channel is still small. It's pretty incredible when you can say on an average you're getting 500 to 600 people live. Yeah. And most of those are diehard gamers that just talking about games. Now, granted, there are a few in there that have their very high opinions on said console. Pick whichever one you want. But they're still civil. And you have the a-holes of the world come there and looking for trouble. And thankfully, I have an incredible moderator who banishes them, and we hardly ever hear from them, which is great. But for the most part, he doesn't really have to do that much work because people come there and they want to just talk about gaming. They want to enjoy the conversation that we're about to have. And that's where I like spending my time. When I start seeing it going too much to the left or to the right, that's when I mute you.
Yeah, no, I get it. And what I really don't understand is what's the end game, right? You have Xbox tweets and you have PlayStation fans saying PS5 better. PlayStation tweets, you have Xbox fans saying Xbox is better. And they're looking for these tiny little like, oh, right now Resident Evil demo runs better on Xbox, and then, yeah, but it doesn't have 3D audio and the DualSense controller, and what's the end game? Like, what do people expect to happen? Like, are you going to hit me with that? And I'm going to go, you're right. I'm going to get rid of my Xbox right now and become strictly a PlayStation fan. Like, you're not going to win the argument. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. Like, when there's like, I mean, Apex just dropped new content The FPS boost is pretty cool. Hopefully, the way I look at the FPS boost, I look at it as a win for Xbox, of course.
100%, yeah.
But I also hope that Sony does pay attention to this, and then in a couple months we get a tweet from them saying, "Hey, look, here's 60 games that also got an FPS boost." Will they do it? I don't know, but I love the fact that we have multiple companies working in competition because we win at that point.
Yes, well, competition is good, and it makes the other one better. I mean, a perfect example of that conversation is, why do you think Microsoft now has 23 first-party studios with 35-plus teams? Why do you think that is? You think that's by accident? No, they got their teeth kicked in last generation. And if you look at from 2013 to 2017 to when Phil became where he is now, before his current position, when he became what Matt Booty is doing, so he took over Xbox, the head of Xbox. He made big changes, but for those 4 years leading up to that, right, from 2013 to 2017, they got their teeth kicked in for a lot of reasons. And because they lost so hard, before they lost so bad, we now are witnessing a triumphant return of where and who they were during the Xbox 360s days. Nintendo, we saw it with them. Incredible numbers with the Wii, right? Crazy numbers. The Wii U, terrible. The Switch, crazy numbers, and absolutely taking the entire taking both Sony and Microsoft to task with an underpowered handheld device that has you going like this with your Wii, almost like the Wiimotes.
Right. Yeah.
Sony saw tremendous success in the PS2 days. Right. Probably, I think it's the PS2 itself might be the most PlayStation sold console when you factor in the PS1, 3, and 4. Right. And now the 5.
Right. Yeah.
They took it. They stepped on their own. During the PlayStation 3 era, right? A $600 console, poorly made games, poorly represented. If you want this console, go and get a second job. I mean, those right. So we saw Microsoft go from 360, fall flat on their face, and now look where they are now. So the competition that we keep seeing with one studio doing a game like Ratchet and Clank that comes out in June. Tomorrow, you're going to be a part of tomorrow's show. One of the big topics is going to be not so much the stellar Last of Us 2. Now, I say stellar because it got all these awards. It's not my favorite one. There's a lot of things that I don't like about the game, but you cannot argue the quality. Can't argue the storytelling. We're going to talk tomorrow, exclusively on what Microsoft's internal review had to say about it. And it's because of that review that we're going to talk about, Josh, why I have absolutely through the roof confidence that Fable and Ninja Blade's Hellblade 2,
Ninja Theory,
and Perfect Dark. These games are going to be those Sony quality games that we all have been asking for. And it's because of that competition that we're going to see it. And that's why seeing them battle for first place is who wins. You said it. We win. We're the gamers. We're going to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I want to unpack a little bit some of the stuff you just said. Okay. Especially the PlayStation quality games. I want to get to that in a second. The Nintendo Switch. I cannot help, and I'm sure many, many people see this, but I went all in with the Switch the moment it was announced. I started the Nintendo Powercast and started making Switch content. I have 500 Nintendo articles on my website. I have 2,000 videos on my YouTube channel, right? Like, I went all in. Nintendo also went all in, and they went all in on their own. They were on their own. They knew that they did not have third-party support and that they were going to have to climb this hill alone. And they did it. They did it with Wii U ports that were stellar games. The best-selling game on the Switch is a Wii U port of Mario Kart 8.
Yes.
And
pretty much.
And I think Nintendo honestly set an example for what Xbox is doing now. Right? Like Xbox with Game Pass and acquiring all those studios. I think not that they didn't have the third party support, because they do, but I don't think, like, Xbox used to be the Call of Duty machine, and then that changed hands.
Shooter box,
right? Yeah, that changed hands, and Sony needed it. It was the best thing Sony could do because they couldn't produce a good first person shooter themselves, and I don't mean any disrespect there, but like games like, oh my gosh, I'm watching the gameplay. That's where I just got sniped out of the air while I was diving. But I mean, their shooters just were always like, I couldn't get into. I played through Resistance. I tried to play Killzone. Like I wanted to enjoy those games, but they weren't that good. And so Microsoft is in the place that Nintendo was 4 years ago, and I love it because they are showing us that they're hungry, that they want to earn the trust of gamers again, and getting into games. Okay, Perfect Dark, one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, N64 Josh is my Twitter handle, right? Like, I had 32 days played on Perfect Dark, the original 64 game. Zero it fell a little bit short, but the 64 version of Perfect Dark, it felt like it did what it could with the graphics at that time, but it was a modern, mature shooter for that era, right? It was a rare studio that I don't it's not the same Rare anymore, and now it's going to be the Initiative, right? That's the name of the company. That's the devs. And so when that new trailer, that teaser, and you could see the laptop gun on the wall, like, I lost my mind, because we're talking about one of my favorite franchises is potentially going to be back, and them referring to this studio as a quadruple A studio. I'm afraid for where my expectations are taking me, honestly, because I have high expectations, and I want to see if Microsoft puts out like the cinematic experience and the story experience that Sony can do, plus multiplayer, plus Game Pass, and they've got, what'd you say, 23 different studios now?
23 studios and 35 teams.
Yeah,
each one of there are a number of studios. Like, for instance, Obsidian. I believe Obsidian actually has 4 teams themselves. You add Bethesda into that. Each one of those big teams has multiple teams. So it's the quality of games that we see that have been released, and it wasn't the entire PlayStation 4 generation. They had a little bit of a cold spot between 2013 and I think it was before 2017. Those block of years, they had a few. It's 2018, 19, and 20 that they really exploded on the scene with just incredible games. And we're going to start seeing those. And see, that's I mean, again, it's not a topic, and it certainly should be at some point on your show or my show, is when you look at the success of Game Pass, right? Something that I think has spoiled us as consumers, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I didn't buy Returnal, because of its price point. Because it was a roguelite. I'm not spending $76.46 here in New York State for a game that is going to punish me for playing it. I'm just not going to get involved, right? But when you think about where Game Pass has gotten, right, and you brought up Game Pass, I kind of just want to add fuel to this fire.
Please do.
They've done 23 million subscribers, Josh, without one first party banger.
Yeah.
What happens to Xbox Game Pass when Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 and Starfield and Perfect Dark and Fable and Forza Motorsport, whatever number they're going to add to it, and you just keep going, and you Avowed, and you just keep going down the line. Gears 6 and maybe a secret project that they're working on. It's going to be a great time to be an Xbox gamer.
It really is. And I feel like Microsoft is in the early stages of where Nintendo was 4 years ago. And I feel like Nintendo is still going strong.
Yeah.
And what I feel like Nintendo has a game called Miitopia coming out, right? It is not a game.
I'm actually looking forward. I'm looking forward to that, believe it or not.
I'm not. It's not a game for me. That's fine. Right. When Nintendo is in a place where they're going to put out the most Nintendo games imaginable, where they start to get goofy and they start to they start to just games like Tamagotchi, yes, that's when they're healthy and they can do that. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. And I'm excited for Xbox to get to that place. They're not going anywhere. Xbox is not going anywhere. They're not there. They haven't thrown in the towel. They basically they're like Rocky right now. They're hitting those slabs of meat and getting ready for the fight, you know? And I love it. I love seeing a healthy Xbox that is not afraid to get in the ring and stay in this fight. We win in that situation. We are the ones that win. And I love it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Boomstick, this has been so great. Thank you for taking the time, my friend, to join me and chat about Xbox. And again, somebody in chat's asking what game we were seeing on screen. That's Gears 4. It got the FPS boost. It's running at 60 frames now. So that's Gears of War 4 if you want to check it out on Game Pass. I know Chris who's asking, I know he has Game Pass. So yeah. And I was playing on the insanity difficulty again. That's why you guys saw me die so much. Let me throw it out there. All right. It was the insanity difficulty. Boomstick, all the places people can find you and your content, please.
Well, listen, the easiest way to find me, and if you want to strike up a conversation, is Twitter, at MrBoomstickXL. I'm there. DMs are open. No privacy. You want to send me a DM, I'll get notified if I'm not following you. We'll have a conversation. I talk to everybody. If you want content from Double Barrel Gaming, that's where you got to go on YouTube. It's spelled exactly how you hear it, Double Barrel Gaming. There's 4 live shows weekly. Primetime Gaming is a show that happens at 8 p.m. on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday nights. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the Xbox Factor podcast. And on Friday mornings, you have Breakfast with Boom, and that is at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, sometimes I do interviews. I have a couple of really, really big ones coming up. I cannot disclose who they are, but I can assure you that there are 2 of the biggest games coming out for Xbox this fall, and I cannot wait to talk about it. I've had Joe from Song of Iron on. I got a chance to hang out with the team, some of the team members from Second Extinction, which I'm addicted to right now. I'm absolutely loving that game.
Great game. Got
a chance to talk with the founder of the company that brought us Lost Words. It's a fantastic game. If you have not checked it out, go to my channel. You can see the interview there. But yeah, thanks so much, Josh. This has been awesome, brother. And I can't wait to have you back on tomorrow on Thursday's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.
I'm really looking forward to it. Guys, you can find me everywhere at N64Josh. The new website, xboxnow.tv, is up and running. We're slowly building a team of writers. He left. He left. Now you guys get to see two of me. So
No, what happened?
I don't know.
That's weird.
There, he's back. He's back. We
Yay!
got him back. There we go. Okay. Oh,
That's the weirdest thing. Like I heard the noise go bloop bloop, and I'm like, well, I didn't shut it down. I didn't even touch the computer.
yeah.
Here we go.
It's still just two of me. I don't know what Discord.
That's weird.
Discord. Here we go. There. Now we'll see you. Hey, there he is. We're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Hello, everyone.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, chat's like too much, Josh. No, I get it. I know, but XboxNow.tv. I want to build a team of writers. Really, what I'm looking for is content creators that, you know, you do your own YouTube stuff, you do your own podcasts, and you can use my platform, my website, to be able to promote while we're all growing together, you know? So if you've got a particular topic or a video that you're really stoked about, you write a short article about it, embed that video on the site, and that's really, I just want to grow something together, because I feel like this community is just, it's so incredible, and I'm having such a great time getting to know you guys. And so xboxnow.tv, my DMs on Twitter are open if it's something you're interested in, and we'll go from there. With that, we're gonna put a bow on this, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.